Okay, now if I go back here, I go here. Ah, there we are. But you're not there, so give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to figure out why you're not there.
No worries. I'm just clicky-clacking through Facebook.
Okay, cool. You've been busy
We're
today,
up
yeah?
to 553 members.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Give me 2 seconds. Really? Okay, click the plug. Okay. No, you're really not. I don't know what. I hate AI, I'll tell you that right now. I hate it, hate it. Hate it. Okay, all right. Don't click Chantal. Okay. Oops, that's good. Voila! There she is, Miss America. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be with you momentarily. I'm just going to clean up one thing. I want to see if I can, yes, I will do this. And I will do one more thing. I promised my son I'd send him the link. So I'm going to send him the link. Oops. All right. Oh, I can't get a hold of him now because hopefully he'll see it. Anyway, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. We are so very glad you could join us again for another very important podcast that we have put together for you exclusively. In this podcast, we are going to discuss several things. I'm going to open up with, after we do our introductions, with some video and from the powerhouse of a protest today. Really amazing, and I'll get more into that. Chantal, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about the Municipal Coalition and Documented Record.
Okay.
So people that are stating that they're not for the ADAP switch.
Right. And there's a hell of a lot of those people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of people starting to talk out or speak out about it and asking for it to be paused. There's some questions circulating online about why the coalition is asking for ADAP to be paused rather than canceled altogether. And there is reason for it. So I'm going to try to break that down for people today.
Okay. Lots of people have that want it postponed.
Yeah.
Are we taking that as a win, do you think, or do we want it canceled? What do we want?
I'm going to take that as a win because right now, like a lot of people are asking why we're not just calling for ADAP to be canceled. And I ended up having to answer that question earlier today on Facebook. I'm just trying to find my response to it because of
Yeah.
course I never stop with what I'm up to. So a lot of uncertainty there. Like why are we not canceling it? Why are we just asking for it to be paused? um, we have to follow a certain framework within the government. So they can't outright say just let's stop this because it's going to cause harm. There's a certain framework that we have to follow. So that's why we're calling for the pause.
Okay. Okay. And yes, I suppose we could call a pause a win until, I mean, the what would you call it? The pushback of that gives us the room to negotiate within the pause, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like ADAP, I think would be um, it has the potential of being a positive program if they rolled it out properly,
I
understanding the harm instead of going, oh, well, we're just going to take everybody's predetermined AISH positions and just say, no, we're going to throw them through the shredder and everybody's going to go to ADAP. There's a better way to do this.
well, your whole caricature that seems all too real to me as the shredder, the meat
Yeah.
grinder, it really is what this is. And I forget to sometimes frame it that way to people that I'm speaking with, but I think that's the only good way to frame this.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about ADAP is why not just whatever you want to call it, just call it a work program within AISH.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be. We don't need to spend $46 million for a transition. That's a waste of
No.
government money. We
Oh,
could,
it is.
right? Like we could just say, man, do you guys want to work? Go at it. I talked to a few people today that that were of the mind, and they were AISH recipients that said, like I don't mind the work thing. And I said, yeah, but 80,000 people don't need to suffer because you want to work.
Yeah.
You could work, and I think you can already work within AISH.
Oh, you
And
can.
yeah, and if they just wanted to make that a little more expansive, they could just roll out a program within AISH.
Hmm.
That seems like the most manageable thing to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
uh,
they could have the
yeah.
same kind of tiered approach as what Alberta Works has, where you have the barriers to full employment versus the um, what is it? The I don't want to call it the forced to work program, but that's not it. So like people that don't have the education to go into certain sectors, or they are looking at expanding to go into specific career fronts, they have programs like that already, but we don't have those same kind of programs that translate to AISH.
Right. Which to me is a pretty simple fix.
It would be, but
Yeah.
they're not looking at it like that.
No, they want to spend $46 million more a year on ADAP
Yeah.
exclusively, and then for the simple fact that, at least from our perspective, it's for people that would like to work a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? That's all it is. Nobody's soaking the government, and we've already discussed that, and we'll get more into that today, won't we? Just how much
Yes.
we're not soaking the government and how much the government is soaking you. Right? So we'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to, Chantal, if it's okay with you, I want to get to just an overview of today's protest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because some really interesting things happened today, and I'll explain that to y'all. I went there with some fear and loathing today, maybe more loathing than fear, but some slight trepidation. And I'll tell you the reason for that. To be honest, I had it in my mind that there was every reason I would look like an idiot. I would stand out there with a sign, maybe with a few people, and a few people is what it was. It was 4 people, which I guess is one more than a few. Um, so there weren't that many people. But I went there with this distinct feeling of feeling like I was going to look like an idiot. To the extent that I didn't want to it was hard to start the process of going to the street, and then another guy showed up, and we just kind of got busy collecting the posters, and we just went. But that whole time was a moment of minor crisis for me, and then I stepped onto the street or to the curb, and something transformational happened, or just more or less I settled into the day. Like I settled into the moment, which was really weird because I thought, oh my God, like, here I am, some really weird stuff. And that wasn't what it was like at all. It was actually just the moment, it's hard to explain. It's hard to put in the English language, but I just felt like I was there. I was present. I didn't feel any judgment in me. And if I would have observed any, and let's say passersby, because it's McLeod Trail, it's moving fast in front of City Hall, I didn't feel any judgment. And then all of a sudden, people start honking their horns. And I'm like, yeah, right there. That's right, buddy. You go, girl, And then I just completely settled in. And I started to realize that I didn't feel weird anymore. I felt like the people in the cars were weird. I felt like the people, doing this, looking straight ahead, you know what I mean? Doing that sort of, I don't know, liberal political correcting. Yeah, I felt like that's weird. Like if I happened to prod a protest, which I did a couple months ago, I would immediately ask a question. That's what I would do. And I don't think I'm unique in that. I think that's a pretty salient function of the species. Curiosity, right? And yet I noticed that some people were very trepidatious. And in that, they were feeling what I was feeling before I went to do the thing. It was actually them in that position. And I felt completely at ease. And so it really was a moment where I realized that the story or the theater playing out in my mind had nothing to do with the reality of the moment. And I say that to everybody out there because I really feel that you could feel the same way I did walking up to this. You could feel that, like, I don't know, this is weird, right? But then all of a sudden you transcend, it no longer is that. You realize, oh my God, I do have power. I'm actually exercising that power the way a proper citizen should. And then you just become part of it. And I felt so much love in that space with 4 people, and the energy was amazing. The way, I could see the smiles on our faces. People were coming up to Pam, they were coming up to Joey and this other girl that was there. And they'd be asking questions, and Pam would go, Gavin, come over here. And so I'd run over and I'd be like, yeah, what's up? Like, what's on your mind? Well, what is this? We actually had a Greyhound busload of German tourists pull up pull up right in front of us. I mean, you wouldn't have wanted to see that 80 years ago, but it was okay today. And the guy, talks Pam, Gavin, come over here. And so in broken English, this guy's like, what are you doing? What is this? We want to know. And I said, well, it's this. And he goes, well, I don't have a lot of time. I said, well, then go. But this is what we're doing. And he's like, I just want to be able to share this with a busload of people. And so he went on to, I don't know, 80, 100 people there to go, this is what they're doing. And I think I said, I forget what I said. Some German thing came to my mind, and I said it to the whole group, and they were like, oh, and so we kind of, we connected on some dumb German thing I know. And so that was inspiring, right? The whole thing was really cool. Of course, you have your douchebag or two. You have your, polite society folk that, you know, think their poop doesn't stink, let's say. And I had one or two of those, but I can tell you this, with the information, Chantal, that you and I have now gained,
Mhm.
there is no argument that
No.
that we can't defend.
Mhm.
And I really
Or a
felt,
stance that we can't reestablish.
yeah, that we actually can't gain the higher ground, and very quickly. You know, I had one guy, I think he was British, and he said, well, how do you think you're going to solve this with the NDP? And I said, no, dude, that's your mind that thinks like that. I don't think NDP, and I don't think Liberal, and I don't think UCP. I think democracy. And the way I think democracy is Socratic democracy, going back 4,000 years. That's the kind of democracy I'm talking about. And he kind of paused, like, I shouldn't know who Socrates was. I shouldn't know what Socratic democracy is. And it stopped him, and then he glibly said, well, I have to go. And I said, yeah, nice talking to you, right? And so we had this thing going on, and with a few people. But that was okay. I mean, once again, you know, you knock a buzzard off a shit wagon with the fact that they only have so much information, and they're thinking extremely two-dimensionally through the entire thing. So that was cool. You know, a few people didn't want to talk to us. And I told Pam, you know, because she was getting a lot of that, you know, because she's such a beautiful spirit, she just walks up to people with her sign and says, hey, you know, what do you think, you know? And I said, Pam, you know, like if people come up to you and they glibly kind of, you know, do this high society thing, you know, I said, just look at them and say, nice talking to you, you know, and just look at them like, why are you being a douchebag? Like, you know what I mean? Just stop that, grab a little of your humanity if you got any left, and come on in, you know? So anyway, that was really good. And I do have some B-roll of this. And so this is probably going to fill the whole screen, but I want to show you all what's going on. Right, Pam, we'll talk about the guy in the wheelchair for sure. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about that right now. One thing that really touched me, and I think Pam said it really amazingly, there was a guy in a wheelchair that really was, I mean, there was not much left of this individual from any psychological standpoint, from any physical standpoint. He was bent over, hunched, arms, wrist, couldn't speak. Older gentleman, but it was hard to ascertain how old because he was just decrepit, right? And I mean that in the most benevolent sense of the word. And Chantal yelled, Pam shouted me over to the guy, and he had a worker with him that was pushing him in a wheelchair. And I asked his name, and I just kind of went up to him like, hey man, you know, like, what's up, dude? And of course he couldn't understand really anything I was saying. But just the fact that we were in that space with him, and the lady kind of translated to him what it was we were saying, was one of these moments where Pam and I both wanted to cry. And it really came upon us in that moment that this is why we're doing this. You know, I mean, it's one thing for her and I, and it's one thing for 80,000 people, all with our own unique needs. But this guy in particular, because of his state, just, I don't know, I really, it choked me up. And it was hard to remain composed. But, you know, I also wanted to kind of just bring the street to him, you know? And so I engaged with him and backed off where I felt, you know, it might be too much for him, or, you know, he wasn't connecting. But his worker was so thankful. And she kept bending down to him to assure him and pet his arm, you know, and that we were fighting for him. And what a moment, man. What a moment. Like, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and so Pam, I appreciate you reminding me of that. I wouldn't have wanted to forget that amazing moment. There was another moment where somebody tried to steal a backpack, but that didn't work out too well for him, although I digress. So I do have some B-roll of this that I want to share with y'all. It's probably going to fill the whole screen. It's not much and it's not long, but I think you should see what's down there. Now, this may not translate well to video, I get that, but what you can't account for on video is the feeling we had. There were 4 people there, but the feeling we got felt like there was 1,000. Really. It was, well, maybe 100, maybe not 1,000, but it felt bigger than the 4 of us. I can tell you that. It really did. And I don't know why it felt like that. I don't know what that was. We just kept conversing back and forth to each other, kept the signs on the road, and it was just love, man. It was really beautiful. So I'm just going to switch. First time I'm ever using this, don't know how it's going to work out, but here it is. Here's the video. It's about 30 seconds and a few pictures. I mean, look at those gorgeous people. Like, wow, right?
How you doing, man?
And then I'll play image 1. This is Pam and our friend. I forget where she's from, but she's wearing some Eastern European headgear there. There's another one. Go Pam. Go Pam. Go Pam. This is a beautiful Joey. Joey is such a great spirit. Love that guy. Tremendous guy. And there he is again. And so that's that. Were you able to see those, Chantal, or no? Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah.
So that was our day. Pam and I are going to talk after the show, and we're going to set up something maybe for Friday. So we'll be down there twice a week. And the mayor did walk by us at one point, going to a power lunch, I think. And he got across the street until somebody, turned to me and said, "Hey, Gavin, that's Jeremy Farkas is walking across the street." And so I looked, and I just yelled out, I said, "Hey, Jeremy." And he turned around, and I said, "We're looking at you, bro. We're looking at you. You looking at us? You better be looking at us. You got our back, right?" And he went like this.
Yeah.
And then turned around and probably said, "What a bunch of freaks." But, I can't control what somebody else thinks. The next time, and I'm sure this will happen again 2 times a week, next time he walks by me, I'm getting an audience with him. Whether it's 20 seconds or 20 minutes, I'm going to stop him and I'm going to say, "You and I need to talk, bro. We need to talk. You can do lunch a little bit later. Let's talk about this." I did that, with another suit from City Hall today, and he was really willing to talk and discuss. And so I think it's incumbent upon the incumbent to do this, to stand with the people. And what beautiful people they are. What beautiful people they are. So, Chantal, I'll hand it over to you. I know you have some really vital news to discuss, so you go ahead.
It's just regarding the 5 municipalities on the record here that are against the ADAP switch. So Edmonton Mayor Andrew Knack, the motion passed unanimously. Formal letter was sent to Minister Nixon. So, and then the key detail from that one there were 3 asks: to pause the transition to ADAP, continue consultation with persons with disabilities and community partners, publicly report on projected social and economic impacts, and the letter warns of significant fear and anxiety within the community regarding the potential social and economic impacts, which everybody is already aware of and worried about.
Yeah.
Lethbridge Councillor Belinda Crowson, motion passed unanimously, council chambers standing room only. Concerns documented lack of definition, no right to appeal, no meaningful consultation. Crossan noted the community expressed a lot of fear, and it's distinct from anger. Council chambers erupted in applause following the vote. So that's two big cities that are on board with this.
And
Red Deer.
you said standing room only.
Yep.
So we're talking about, let's stop on that just for a second, because you're talking about full engagement of the proletariat, of the people, of
Yep.
of AISH recipients coming out to where the only there are no seats left in the House. That's quite a turnout.
Oh yeah.
So
Very
I don't
much so.
I don't know if you want to speak to your city in particular, but I want to speak to mine just for a second to say, look, I get what Calgary is. I know it's a nice white collar town, where everybody's too busy to act. But it's this kind of thing that is going to put nails in coffins. When you see this many people coming out on something this important, AISH people receiving AISH, right, in their wheelchair, getting there any way they can, right, with sleep in their eyes and fear in their heart. And they're coming out and they're doing this. Calgary, we need to do a better job, all right? We need to be doing this. This is us, all right? All right? This is for the people. I don't know how you feel about Edmonton, but I know we can do a better job here. God bless the people that are doing it, but the ones that aren't are the ones I'm speaking to. Go ahead, Chantal.
Yeah. Red Deer Councillor Cassandra Curtis, I spoke to her via email a couple times there because I sent her the the consultation gap report that I ended up writing, and she asked me if it would be okay if either I send that document to the entirety of their council, or if she wanted me, or if I wanted her to forward the documents on, because she found it a good factual record of what's been going on. So that was a win for the group, at least. So the notice of motion tabled March 24th, 2026, voted on April 15th, 2026, asks Mayor Cindy Jeffries to formally lobby the province to pause AISH-to-ADAP changes and undertake meaningful, accessible consultation, including medical professionals. So I came in after all of that with my document, and so I think she's going to go to bat for us, this Cassandra Curtis, which is awesome.
That's what do you think the chances of getting her on are? Think we could get her on?
Probably slim.
Slim, okay.
It all depends on how they want to be viewed, right?
Yeah.
Or if they're allowed, because a lot of them end up signing NDAs, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and then Camrose solidarity motion passed. So confirmed via disability advocate Zachary Weeks and future of good coverage. So they're with us too on the pause of ADAP and AISH, or the switch from AISH to ADAP. And then Calgary Mayor Jeremy Farkas notice of motion. He co-sponsored by Councillor Schmidt. Calgary's advisory committee on accessibility actively has been engaged. So Calgary today is the live test case. Protests outside City Hall while a notion of motion or a notice of motion is on the books inside. So you guys are really strengthening the case being out there with your signs, which is a win. across the board. So
Okay, just clarify that for me. That last part about the protests outside, connected to whatever that was you said. Are they
yeah, the notice
noticing?
of motion.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I like your notion of motion. That was awesome. Um, yeah, I love that rhyme scheme. Are they saying that they noticed us out there today, or are they saying that in tandem with these things?
Oh, that's my take on it. In tandem with it, there's already a motion going on inside,
Okay,
right?
right.
And you guys are cementing it in that this is something that needs to be looked at.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is you. We're
Yeah.
speaking to you right now. Great. That's great. Yeah, keep going. Wow.
So, and then also publicly in discussion, Claire's home, solidarity motion, medicine hat, discussions confirmed by Edmonton Councillor Tang, and then Rocky Mountain House is also coming to the table. So this is good news. It's a big chunk of Alberta that's going, nah, we don't want this.
Right. Right. So can we name the towns and cities?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? So let's just list those real quick if we can. I'm
Okay,
curious.
so we've got Edmonton, Lethbridge, Red Deer, Camrose, Calgary, Claire's Home, Medicine Hat, and Rocky Mountain House.
Okay, so that's 8 towns and cities that
Yeah.
are coming out in opposition, in almost full opposition. It seems like, at least in some cases, especially the small towns, which is interesting. Seeing that what's her nuts up there in Edmonton, her constituents are rural. You know, that's
Yeah.
where her base is. So it seems like the base is, her base, her rural base is saying, wait a minute, not so fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, great. Wow.
Well, there is a quote here from it's dubbed the killer quote from Edmonton Councillor Corrine Tang. While municipalities can provide some support to low-income households, social assistance programs are generally outside the scope of municipal governments. When programs change, people may turn to the municipality for additional support. Our funding is extremely constrained through property taxes, and typically income support is not something in our realm. So we're very concerned about the downloading effect of this policy change onto municipalities.
All right. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a certain banality to that, but there is a lot of truth in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of, like, what do you want us to do about it, right? Um, yeah, no, we know this is a provincial problem
Yeah.
that needs to be dealt with the province, and I think that's what the municipalities are saying. This isn't our problem, it's your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the snowball effect, right? That's going to hit somewhere.
Well, yeah, it's almost like it's like the offloading effect where, they're basically just offloading this to all the small towns that just simply don't have the finances for it.
Yeah.
Right. And
And all it'll end up doing is it'll send more and more people into either having to like life of crime kind of thing, or it's going to increase homelessness across the board in all of these other cities and towns and stuff across the province, because where do people go?
right. Well, they go nowhere. They go to the street. This beautiful girl that was with us today, the one that was hiding her face with the sign, Caitlin is her name. And she is, literally about 5'1", maybe 5'2", maybe 90 pounds. And she's sleeping and has been sleeping at the DI for a few months. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Not you. Not you.
Yeah.
She's not on drugs. She doesn't drink or smoke. And it was astounding to have to realize that this little beautiful woman is having to, at least navigate parts of her life in tremendous fear every day. That into her sleeping hours.
Yeah.
And I just thought that is so inhumane to do. to somebody like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not humane to other people, but given her size and her stature, guys can take care of themselves. They can do all right. A 5'2", 90-pound woman has just a few more fears, I think, than the average guy weighing 250 at 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough one for me. Yeah, yeah. Anything else there?
I'm gonna go into your strong suit here.
Okay.
So the cost transfer math and where the money actually is.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So this is where the Heritage Fund comes back in, not as a separate topic, but as the answer to a question the municipalities are asking. Right? So the fiscal contradiction in one frame. ADAP saves money. That's what the province is saying, right?
Yeah.
What the documented record establishes, 5 municipalities have formally written that costs will transfer to property tax bases.
Right. Right. So now explain that to the people what that means.
Anybody that has their own property, anybody that owns their own, is paying a mortgage on their house and is paying yearly property taxes, that's going to be a cost that's going to be included coming out of your pocket.
Right. Kind of like the recycling bins we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, every tax, if it comes out of your household taxes, then they have to increase your household tax.
Mm-hmm. And that's not fair because the money is there. The government has the money. The province of Alberta has a fund already to support everything that's happening today. It doesn't have to switch to ADAP. There's no money lost.
Right. Well, and it's like the gentleman we were talking to yesterday. He said that he did the math on this, and at the moment, at present, the individual taxpayer is paying what he thought, and he said he could be wrong, but he wasn't that wrong. About 5 cents out of their taxes is going to AISH. Now, if you had a property tax, well, what the hell's that? That ain't going to be 5 cents. I can tell you that.
Nope. You're looking at thousands of dollars a year just to have the house that you pay every month for.
Right, and now that's going to
the bank owns.
Well, and I can understand you being pissed off at that point.
Yep.
Right, but that's not your AISH recipient. That's the government screwing you out of money, and this is how they're coming for the middle class. This is what people don't understand, right? It's not. It's you. I can say that I'm going to save you money and then just not do it, and you won't necessarily be the wiser because it's not in your purview to examine it, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, for any middle class individual about to watch this show, just the overhead per year on ADAP is going to be $46 million more than it currently is on AISH. Now that's a round number, but even if it's 42 million, that's not much of a difference. And if it's 52 million, that's $52 million. So you see what I'm saying? Like the government can tell you one thing and bullshit you because you don't need to look into it. And this is where
you believe what they're saying, and you should be looking into it. You should be digging deeper, right? You need to pluck that chicken.
You need to pluck that chicken.
Yeah, because what the government is feeding everybody is not what's in the pot.
Right, and so I'll tell you what, it's not for you to shoot and ask questions later. It's for you to ask questions first, and then aim that whatever in the right direction. All right? That's what this is about. So anybody that's out there saying, oh, they're stealing money from the government. No, brother, they're stealing money from you and you don't even know it. So let's get that straight. And let's move on. Good stuff, Chantal. Great stuff.
Yep.
Great stuff.
So the government or the province is saying that AISH cuts are a fiscal necessity. What the documented record establishes, the Heritage Fund grew 383 million in a Q3. in 2025 to 2026 alone. So 5 times the entire 3-year AISH cut. So how is it a fiscal necessity to cut AISH when it grew 5 times what it would cost for AISH?
Well, this is the bullshit of government. When you say that you're losing money and you're actually making $383 million,
Yeah.
it is it's a blatant lie to the public. That's all it is. And this should be, I don't know. I mean, I know if I lied on my taxes or I lied to the people in regard to my use of their money, I'd go to jail for that immediately.
Yeah.
Right? There would be no pass go. There would be no collect your $200. It'd be straight to jail. This is, and it's, I think, don't you think it's hard for people to get their head around this, that the government would actually lie this explicitly?
I think what it is it's a generational trust the government framework that everybody's been force fed since we were young. Right? You don't ask questions. Our government is there to take care of us. They'd never lie to us. Blah blah blah. That's not the truth.
Right.
Our parents and our grandparents trusted a government because back then they could be trusted because they were held accountable by the federal government. It's not like that anymore.
Right.
Alberta can do whatever Alberta wants to do with almost no repercussions from the federal government. They've got their own stuff to deal with.
Right. Right.
So there's no accountability anymore. And they've defunded and cut so many programs to make sure that our government in Alberta is held accountable. And it's all through just their bureaucratic backdoor stuff.
Right. Right.
Right. So like they just finished defunding the Healthy Air Quality Advisory. The water advisory has been defunded. Who are they going to answer to now?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's like wiping your ass with a hoop, right? Like, you need a government to audit the government, and then you need another government to audit the government that audits the government.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's, like I said, there's no end to it. The only way that I've ever found that we can rectify this problem to any great extent is if politics become local to your district again. So if that politician lives in your district and they are in direct accountability to you, and your life includes, you know, whatever work you do, it includes your artistic side, your philosophical side, your academic side. It will also fill your political side, meaning that everyone will know what is happening in your political sphere in every moment. And so should someone step out of that, they will be immediately caught, tarred, feathered, or whatever we would do now in 2026. And this is the responsibility of the people, of the polis, right? This is our responsibility that we've abdicated, and this is the job they're doing.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, when do we take it back, right? When do we take back our power, our democracy? Democracy is made up of 2 Greek words, demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning rule. People rule. That's what democracy is. It's no more than that, and it's certainly no less than that. We don't have democracy. The question is, do we want it? Or do we want to sell our rights and freedoms for a mess of pottage? That's the question. You have to answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Beautiful.
Well, I'm definitely not going to take it laying down, that's for sure.
No, Dee Snider said it in 1980. We're not going to take it. No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where is it here? So the cost transfer math, and this is concrete enough to be able to land here. AISH recipient remains housed. Full benefit paid. It's roughly about $23,280 a year.
Okay.
That's what we survive on, right? And I say survive because that's what we're taught to do on AISH, is survive. Person experiencing homelessness, and this is from the Calgary Housing First Evaluation data, $55,000 a year.
In what?
That's a person experiencing homelessness.
Costs $55,000 a year.
Yep.
To the taxpayer.
To the taxpayer. Yep.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So, and then additional taxpayer cost when housed, AISH recipient becomes homeless, and that would be, let's see here, $31,720 more per person per year.
Right. Yep. Yep. No.
So, and that's what the government's going to start charging people that are working and paying their housing tax or their land tax.
See, this is, it's really becoming clear to me. This is where people get pissed off. They are paying for us when it's not their responsibility to pay for the AISH recipient. The government offloads that cost onto them, withholds their money from something as grand as the Heritage Fund, and then pisses on them and tells them it's raining.
Yep.
This is
and they shift the blame onto the recipient, who can't voice for themselves. Like you said, that gentleman that was there with his worker, he would have never been able to fight for himself. He doesn't have a voice to listen to, right?
Never.
So, and that's the extreme part of this equation. Like, you have people like you and I who are on AISH and who are acting as voices for the community, but a lot of the community doesn't have a voice that they can use for themselves to advocate for themselves.
He can't even talk,
and
this guy.
This government does a serious disservice for people like that. A very serious disservice.
Don't you think? Well, I mean, I'll be careful, but to me, it's like that's what they're banking on. They're banking all of us to be deaf, mute, and blind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. No, you look at my banner that I had made, right? The old age senior in the loaded up into the meat grinder, and the AISH recipient in the wheelchair next to it waiting their turn, with the bit of duct tape over the mouth. It's because they want us to be silent. They expect that. Our voices don't matter.
No, they don't. And the government, ladies and gentlemen, this is why it's so important that we get out there, because I think what I said has some relevance. They want us to be like Tommy, deaf, dumb, and blind kid, sure plays a mean pinball, right? They want us like that. They want us deaf, they want us dumb, they want us blind.
Yeah.
The question is, are we going to be? That's the question. Are we going to be that individual? Or are we going to show them we're not deaf, we're not dumb, we're not blind? We are in your face is what we are, and we're not leaving your face until we get what we want. I mean, with the people out there today at the protest, I really think they were starting to get the understanding of how unimportant these important people are. It was really kind of a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So where is it here? The province's own published numbers establish that the "we can't afford it" defense is contradicted by the same government's quarterly Heritage Fund reports. The municipalities are documenting that the cost is being transferred, not eliminated. Both governments are right about their own piece of the picture. Only the province is claiming the picture is something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're
Totally full of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like they're getting you to look at their child's picture on the refrigerator door, telling you it's a Monet.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't be any more blatant than that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not that easily taken. So, yeah.
It's unbelievable what they're trying to do, and they're kind of succeeding, because the same hate on is there for the working class versus the AISH recipient, which is kind of sad. But I finished a document today, and it'll probably be released here within the next couple of days, if not tonight. Depends on how fast I want to burn the candle or not. I just want to go through kind of the first page, for the first couple of pages here, as to what this document is really going to be about. So I did a document on the structural cage that the government has created for people on AISH and on disability supports or on income supports. That makes it so that you are financially incapable of doing much of anything.
Do you want to share some of that now? Yeah. Or do you want to wait?
I'll share this one here.
Yeah.
It's titled "The Cage Doesn't End." Okay. So this one, it's about disability, aging, and Canadian income security.
Okay. Okay.
So the cage doesn't end when you turn 65. It changes shape. A lifestyle or a life cycle analysis of disability, aging, and income security in Canada. Movement 1, the reality check, which I think a lot of people need to start realizing here. So section 1 of 1, if you get hurt at work tomorrow, and this is for people that really think that this has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
So all of those people that decided to just watch the horizon and not give any attention to the things happening around them today, this is for them specifically.
Cool. Good.
This document is written for several audiences. It is written for seniors who have been inside the system for years and have never seen the architecture they are inside of named in writing. It is written for advocates and policy researchers and elected officials who are looking for the documentary record. It is written for the Indigenous, immigrant, and racialized communities for whom the system functions worst and whose own work this document draws from rather than substitutes for.
Okay.
But it is written first for the working age reader who does not yet think this document is about them. It is written for the welder, the heavy-duty mechanic, the hospital cleaner, the warehouse picker, the long-haul driver, the meat plant worker, the kindergarten teacher, the home care worker, the pipe fitter, the line cook, the construction laborer, the oil patch tradesperson, the trade show rigger, the courier, and every other Canadian whose body is the instrument they earn with. It is written for the person who has never been on a disability program, who has never thought of themselves as part of the disability community, and who believes, because they have been allowed to believe, that the system in this country will catch them if their body fails. This is what happens if your body fails.
Yep.
So the cascade, okay? You are 42 years old. You have been working since you were 17. You earn $95,000 a year. You have a mortgage, 2 kids, a spouse who works part-time and does most of the home does most of the home labor, a part-time vehicle or a paid-off vehicle, 23,000 in RRSPs, 8,000 in TFSAs, and a basement that you finished yourself last summer. You are not rich. You are doing what you were told to do. You vote, you file your taxes on time, you have paid the Canadian pension plan, employment insurance, and federal and provincial income tax every year of your working life. Somewhere in the range of $700,000 in lifetime taxes, contributions, and premiums by the time the accident happens. So the accident happens on a Tuesday in November. You fall from a height, or a load shifts, or a vehicle hits you on the way to a job site, or your back, which has been telling you for years that something is wrong, finally tells you in a way that ends the workday. Or you are diagnosed with a disease that 2 years earlier had no symptoms. The mechanism does not matter. What matters is what comes next. Week 1 through 12, WCB. If the injury happened at work, the Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta opens a claim. WCB pays wage replacement at 90% of net earnings capped at the 2026 maximum compensatable earnings of $110,900 per year. And that's sourced. Everything's sourced.
Of course it is.
If you earned more than that, and many trades workers, oil patch workers, and skilled trade workers do, your wage replacement is calculated against the cap, not against what you actually lost.
Okay.
So between 2018 and December 2020, there was no cap on wage loss benefits in Alberta. The cap was restored on January 1st, 2021. The same provincial government that is now restructuring AISH into ADAP is the government that put the wage replacement cap back in place after a brief period without one. So
Yep.
if you earned $125,000 a year, your WCB benefit is calculated as if you earned $110,900.
Oh. Wow.
The $14,100 of annual income above the cap simply disappears from the calculation. You paid income tax on every dollar of it, and WCB does not insure it. I mean, that's a real piss off, isn't it?
Yeah.
So weeks 13 through 52, the cap, the deeming, and the dispute. WCB benefits are not a guarantee. They are an educated entitlement. The board may require independent medical examinations to confirm your injury. It may dispute the connection between the injury and the workplace. It may apply a deemed earning capacity, a determination that you are capable of earning a certain amount in some hypothetical job, even if you cannot actually find that job, which is what we're going to see on ADAP here, right? Your benefit is reduced by the deemed amount, regardless of whether the deemed earnings exist in reality.
Right. Right.
So that's going to be fun. So
Right.
if you are a high income earner above the cap, the gap between what you lost and what WCB replaces grows every month. If you are a moderate income earner inside the cap, you are receiving roughly 2/3 of your previous take home pay, 90% of net, less the cap effect, and then less any deemed earnings.
Right.
So your mortgage did not adjust, your kids' activities did not adjust, and the cost of groceries did not adjust. The cost of the medication you now require did not adjust.
Yep.
So your income lowers and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. There's only one thing that adjusted, isn't there?
Yep. And that's what you're bringing home.
That's what you're bringing home.
So year 2, when WCB ends or denies, WC benefits end when you can return to work, when a permanent partial impairment award is settled, or when a permanent total disability pension begins, or for most workers, when WCB and your treating physicians disagree about whether you are still disabled enough to qualify. If WCB closes your file and you cannot return to work, there is no automatic transfer to anything else. You apply for what comes next. You apply for AISH.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
So if your disability did not happen at work, if you developed multiple sclerosis or had a stroke or were diagnosed with cancer that became disabling, there was no WCB to begin with. You started at the AISH application.
All right.
So, and then what AISH is, because there's some people that still don't know what AISH is. The assured income for the severely handicapped pays $1,940 per month. That is $23,280 a year before any non-cash benefits. Average one-bedroom rent in Alberta is 2026, or in 2026, is between $1,500 and $1,900 a month. It's nuts, right?
Yep.
And then, of course, I had to put mine in there. For a single parent of 3 children needing a 3-bedroom unit, the average rent is $2,138 a month. That is more than the entire AISH benefit before a single grocery item is purchased.
It's $200 more, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. $200 more just to pay your rent, and you haven't put one noodle of a Kraft dinner package into your kid's face. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know how people think that we're acting entitled and that we're doing so well being
Oh,
on government assistance like that. I don't know, Gavin.
well, I fly to Saudi Arabia every weekend, don't I? I
Yeah,
mean,
you're really good with the golf.
yeah, I'm the privileged guy. Yeah.
All right, so to qualify for AISH, you must have a permanent disability that substantially limits your ability to earn a living. And I think we covered that yesterday
Yeah.
with Daryl when we were on stream. And you must meet the financial eligibility tests. That's something that a lot of people don't understand. So the financial tests are the part most working age Canadians do not know about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Liquid assets, money in checking, savings, TFSAs, RRSPs, GICs, non-registered investments, and most other savings vehicles are capped at $5,000 for a single applicant and
Right.
$10,000 for a couple with dependents. That's nuts. So
Yeah, that's
a
crazy.
vehicle is exempt up to a value the board determines.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't get to pick what vehicle you keep. If you are in a two-adult household and you have a vehicle each, you can only keep one.
Right.
That's the only one is exempt, and somebody else tells you which one you can keep.
That's quite something.
So
Yeah.
a primary residence is exempt. So almost everything else you have built must be liquidated before AISH will pay you $1.
Wow.
So if you apply
Wow.
for AISH and it's you and your spouse and you have two vehicles and you go, screw you, I'm not getting rid of my vehicle. That's the one that's paid off, right? And they go, well, you have to, or we're not going to pay you.
Right. Right. I never knew all these revelations.
Well,
Uh,
it's coming out.
yeah.
This is the next report, Gavin.
No,
This is coming out.
that's why I'm staying quiet right now because you're really blowing me away with things I had no idea about.
Well, I keep on trying to explain to everybody, even through my images and stuff, that it doesn't just start with AISH. It's not quarantined to just people in the disability framework.
Yeah.
It's the people that are going to age out at 65. It's the people that are going on to CPP and all of this, and they don't seem to understand that you're one of us.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
You
I should
know?
let me, if you don't mind, I'm just going to interject for a minute because
Yeah.
you're reminding me of two individuals. Well, I actually never met them, but the one guy's girlfriend spoke to us. I don't think, they might have been a little shy, but they were both Afghanistan vets, fought with Canada in Afghanistan for no good reason. Um, and I don't know what the other guy's story is, but the one guy got shot twice in the leg. And
Hmm.
so they had to take shrapnel out, and now he's got permanent disability. Both of them are on AISH, and they're now I can't remember the exact name of this, but whatever the military grants them as any form of payment has been cut.
That's the veterans thing, isn't it? Veterans Affairs.
Veteran, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Veteran something, and so they've cut that already, and now they've cut them $200 on AISH. And these guys that have served their country, whether you
Mhm.
agree or not, they put themselves in harm's way for this country, and their country is doing now, well, let's not say the country. I can't speak for the whole country, but I can speak for this province. Our province, right, that is full of conservative people that can't get enough of Remembrance Day, are cutting these people $200 each, plus the veterans, whatever they get, the veterans benefit, and these guys are once again afraid for their lives.
Mhm.
In some respects, as afraid as they were uh, with their rifle on and a backpack in the deserts of Afghanistan. And I said to the girl, and she actually cried when I said this, and I thought it might have sounded like hyperbole, but it obviously wasn't to her. I said, it's almost like the government said, well, we tried to kill him the first time, but we couldn't. So now we'll try it again. And she started crying when I said that. She literally started crying. She said, that's exactly what this is. They're trying to kill him again. They didn't get him the first time, and now they're trying to do it again. And this guy's back at home. He's in Alberta. He's not in the fucking hills of Afghanistan anymore, right? He's not getting shot at, and yet his government is taking pot shots at him every day, and he is as fearful for his life at this moment that he was staring down the barrel of a gun. Let that sink into you for a minute.
Yeah.
No. I mean, his girl.
No, it is. It's unbelievable what they're doing.
His girlfriend, literally started crying.
Yeah, because you see it, and you called it out, and she wasn't alone in that sentiment, which is very powerful for people when they feel like they've been ignored or like they're invisible.
It's I talked to a suit today when we were at the protest, and he said, well, because he was actually okay, this dude. We got down to some things, and he kind of got to the basics of, well, what are we going to do? Because, it's not about the UCP. It's not about the NDP. It's not about the Liberal. It's about a broken government. The entire government is broke. What do we do? He said, it's almost like you need to run for office. I said, well, that's what we're doing, isn't it, brother? And at that point, we fist pumped, and that was the end of the conversation. But we both agreed that outside of some new blood, some new influence, like the janitor becoming president, we're not going to survive with these people in office. We're just not. So thanks for letting me share that, Chantal.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I helped my mom when she went for through Veterans Affairs. So, because she was ex-military, and so I helped her do all of her writing. Of course, I did. Right. And she got on it, which was good. So, but it's definitely it's not for the individuals that have that background, and it's really not. The government doesn't care about anybody but themselves.
If they don't care about the veteran, man, they sure as hell don't care about you.
No,
they just don't.
So to continue on here, the $23,000 in your RRSP, the retirement savings you built across 20 years of work, must be collapsed. You will pay withholding tax on the collapse between 10 and 30%, depending on the amount. Plus, the rest will be added to your income for the year and taxed at your marginal rate. So the $8,000 in your TFSA must be liquidated. The vehicle worth more than the exemption must be sold. The basement you finished yourself adds to the equity in your home, which is exempt from the asset cap, but you cannot eat the basement. The house equity does not pay your property taxes, your utilities, your insurance, or your maintenance, all of which still come due. So when you have spent down to the asset cap, which is $5,000, AISH will begin to pay you $1,940 a month. Sorry, of course, it's dinner time.
No, that's fine.
So where is it here? So what the cohabitation rule does, and a lot of people that aren't inside the cage yet don't understand this framework, and that's why it's in here.
Yep.
So you are married, your spouse works part-time and earns $38,000 a year. AISH does not pay a married couple as if they are two individuals. It treats your spouse's income as household income for the purpose of determining your benefit. Okay, and everybody that has been in a relationship while even on Alberta Works knows this. So your spouse's earnings reduce your AISH check. Period. That's what happens.
Right.
The exemption thresholds are calculated against the household, not against you. above the partner income exemption, which is being reduced from $2,612 a month to $1,500 a month under the post-July 2026 framework. So if you're living with somebody and they're making an X amount, their exempted amount that they can make is lowering.
Is lowering $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just over 1,000 and change.
1,000 change. So they're
So every
Jesus, they're sticking it to that side.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So every dollar your spouse earns reduces your AISH benefit by a percentage that approaches dollar for dollar at higher household incomes. Because we're not seen as people, right? We're not individual people once we're in a relationship under our government.
Yeah, they take the Bible quite literally, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the two shall become one flesh. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I've seen it even like for people that are on Alberta Works income supports and stuff like that. If you have a roommate, okay, and I say this to everybody that's on support, if you have a roommate that is the same sex, that is the opposite sex, after 3 months of disclosing that you are in any kind of cohabitation arrangement that includes being roommates with someone, AISH or Alberta Works will automatically try to process your file as being common law with that individual, even if there's no relationship.
Well, how does that work? I mean, I rent
because they want to bring your benefits down.
Well, no, I get that, but I rent off a guy, and God bless him, but I'd never want to sleep with the dude. So we're not common law. I'm renting a room off a guy in a dwelling. So what you're saying is that they're going to try.
They will. They'll try.
Right.
So what usually ends up happening, right, is you don't get a letter. Okay, you will not get a letter saying, "Hey, we're looking into you." What they'll do is they will suspend or pause your check from going into your account. And then when you phone in and go, "Hey, why didn't my check clear?" They're going to come up with some kind of bogus story like, "Oh, we sent you a letter asking for this, this, or that." Right? So they put the proof, the burden of proof on the applicant.
Right.
So, you just have to send us 3 months of banking information. That's usually their go-to, right?
Right.
And that's to make sure that you don't have a joint account with somebody.
Right. Right.
So that they can see where all of your dollars are going, all of your cents are going, right?
Right.
And then they always ask every year, it's, we need an updated lease agreement.
Right.
Right? If there's somebody else's name on that lease agreement, the assumption is unreal, Gavin. It is. Right. It really is. Right. Because then you have to prove that, the residence has more than enough bedrooms. Like I know a lot of people, because of financial restrictions, a lot of people are doubling up in bedrooms. Right? They'll have single beds, 2 of them in one room, because that's how they're affording our housing crisis right now. That's how they're navigating it.
Wow.
And AISH doesn't like that.
Yeah.
They'd rather see you homeless.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. It's all valuable, man. It's all good to know, people. Very good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it is. It's still happening. So after 3 months of any kind of disclosure, of you living with somebody, even if it's a roommate, and it's completely, just for financial stability, be ready to prove that. And it's sick. It's disgusting what they're doing to people.
Yep.
Yeah. Your spouse cannot work less to preserve your benefit because the household needs the income. Your spouse cannot work more to make up the gap because every additional dollar earned reduces your benefit. The system has placed your spouse in a vice. The longer it lasts, the tighter the vice gets.
Right.
So, and of course, these are people that had a specific lifestyle, right? So they bought the house that fit that lifestyle and that their needs at that time. right? And then all of a sudden somebody gets hurt, and it's like, okay, well, sink or swim. And the government's made that impossible.
Well,
So, and then the reality of what this does to a marriage, right? I don't think people talk about this enough. This is the part the document does not need to argue. The pattern is documented in every disability policy literature in this country. A spouse who is now the sole earner, the primary caregiver, the financial decision maker, and the person responsible for managing a household whose income has dropped by 60% while caring for a partner whose physical or cognitive condition has changed permanently, and often while still raising children, is a spouse under structural conditions that no marriage was designed to survive, and most do not.
right.
The literature on this is consistent across jurisdictions. So this is countrywide.
Well, that's because it's a purely human metric that we're discussing. We're not,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, this is just the species. This is the species that falls under that amount of pressure. Terrible, terrible. You know, and once again, I don't want to brush that off, you know, because some people say, oh, well, poor you know, like, but we don't understand then, or you don't understand, if somebody might say that, how we are constructed as a species, right? We are, number one, we have the need to belong. We have to belong to something, right? And not only that, we have the necessity we have the God-given right to be with, you know, the opposite or the same sex or whatever, and to enjoy that, whatever benefits that lifestyle brings, right? Yeah. So it is not your fault that bus driver, you know, fell asleep and hit you. That's not your fault, but you're going to end up paying for it.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I mean,
and it just gets worse.
Well, what does that do to a society? What does that do to an entire society? Because that metric just doesn't belong to us. We see how much divorce there is. We see how much fiscal suffering there is out there, and pain and stress in other marriages, in the middle class. We see it replete across classes. And so what does this do to a society? Anyway, you said it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only gets worse. So the decision to separate is rarely framed by the people inside it as a financial decision. It is framed as exhaustion, as resentment, as drift, as the loss of the person they married, as the cost of constant care without support, as the slow erosion of a partnership under conditions of permanent crisis. The financial mechanism that produced those conditions does not appear in the conversation. It doesn't need to. It already did its work.
Right.
Okay, so then I touch on the Canadian Disability Benefit. We already know what that is, so I'm skipping that. Yep. So 5 years in, okay, so 5 years after the accident, you're 47, you are no longer married, right? The basement you finished is in the house your former spouse and the children live in. You live in a 1-bedroom apartment that takes most of your monthly AISH check. The RRSP is gone. The TFSA is gone. The vehicle is gone. The line of credit you used to bridge the gap between WCB ending and AISH starting is still being paid down. You have not held a job in 5 years, and the gap on your resume is growing in a way that means even if your disability allowed you to return to part of your previous work, no employer is now going to consider you.
All right.
Right? So that's the reality for a lot of people on AISH right now. So you have learned the unwritten rules of the system. You have learned that any money in your account on the first of the month above $5,000 puts your benefit at risk. You have learned that any new relationship triggers a reassessment. You have learned that the call center that replaced your individual caseworker in 2024 cannot tell you anything that requires looking up your file. You have learned to call back the next day, get a different person, and try again. You are 18 years away from 65. you are 18 years away from the senior system. And that's what this whole thing is about, is that senior system, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what is waiting at 65, which is going to be a reality for people this year, next year, and every year that comes after it?
Well,
This
just let me.
document,
Can I just jump in? Sorry, I just wanted to comment on that 18-year gap between your current circumstance and the time where you think you're going to be free and clear. 18 years to any human being is ostensibly a long time. That's not days or weeks or months. That's 18 years.
Yep.
You're struggling as much as you are now. Not only have you just lost your job and your subsistence, but now you're on a program that doesn't sustain you. You lose your marriage, right? You're going to be in whatever crippled state now for the rest of your life. And so what does that comport to for the next 18 years? There is no, there's a saying, where there is no hope, the people perish. And within that 18-year gap, I can absolutely see people saying, what's it all for? What's it all about? Do I want to live like this for another 18 years? To where even if I get to 65, what does that really mean? My body's broken now. What's it going to be at 65? I mean, this is how a government does not take care of its citizens. This is the bad work of government. I don't know that there's any good work of government. I guess we could drive on a road, but I'll tell you what, there hasn't been a society in the history of humankind that if there wasn't a road built that needed to be built, didn't get the job done. Right? We can all build roads. The whole thing is how this monolithic space in which we live is really just a testament to our ego, right? And our overachievement, right? And we don't, there's not a necessity for the things we necessarily think there's necessities for. I mean, I love great smelling perfume, but I can make my own perfume, and I'm starting to do that now. I won't tell you what I spend on perfume, but I can make a perfume for $70 with the best raw materials the world knows. Oud wood, moss, and all of these ingredients. I don't need to go out and get it anywhere. If we needed to build a road could be built. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But I don't know how angry I want to make you with this.
Please go ahead.
So this document exists because most Canadians believe, because they have been allowed to believe, that the senior system is qualitatively different. That the Canadian Pension Plan, Old Age Security, and the Guaranteed Income Supplement constitute a different kind of program from AISH and ADAP. A program that is not stingy, not punitive, but built around the assumption that anyone receiving it is gaming it, not designed to extract the maximum from the federal contribution while delivering the minimum to the recipient.
Could you just boil that down? Yeah.
So, when people start to look at old age pensions, blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think, oh well, that they can't be stingy. Then I'm going to get what I need to survive, because they assume that with AISH and other income supports that we're making bank, Gavin, right? We can afford everything that we need. We're living on the government teat, right?
Right.
So it can't be worse for people going on to old age security and CPP, right? That's what the government wants everybody to believe.
Right. When, I was lucky enough, or unlucky enough to get a credit card not that long ago, and just to live month to month, I pretty much maxed that out on top of receiving AISH.
Yep.
Because I simply
That's like
can't.
People that have overdrafts. Yep.
Right, and I've got an overdraft that I get into max every month, and then it's extracted as soon as I get my AISH check. So now I'm down $400 immediately. I'm using my credit card that's going to be maxed out, and I'm living high on the hog.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no.
That's
Pe-
usually the general consensus is, oh well, they get free money, and they live vicariously, right? Everybody gets what they need, and there's no problem. So there's a lot of transparency that needs to happen. Okay.
well, right, yeah, there is,
And
there
I'm
is.
really good at plucking that chicken and making it embarrassed. So we'll continue.
Yep.
So most Canadians believe this because nobody has shown them the architecture from end to end. The architecture is the same. The mechanism is the same. The cohabitation penalty is the same. Okay.
Hmm.
The asset capture is the same, and the contribution versus receipt mismatch is the same. The structural pressure to live alone, to remain unmarried, and to declare separation in order to preserve income is the same. The names of the programs change at 65. The cage does not change, it changes shape.
Mm. Mm. Right.
So movement 2 of this document, because I don't want to go through the entire document right
Hmm.
now,
Hmm.
right? Walks the architecture program by program, dollar by dollar and source by source. Movement 3 documents how the architecture operates worst on Indigenous, immigrant, racialized, and other intersectionally affected populations. Movement 4 is the closing, written for the seniors who already live inside this cage,
Mm.
who have been single on paper for years to keep the guaranteed income supplement, who lost a spouse at an income and an income in the same week, who watched their working life savings vanish into long-term care accommodation costs, and who never got back what they paid in.
Hmm. Right. Right.
This document is also written again for everybody, right? The numbers are published. Where is it here? If you are reading the document about what is waiting, about what is waiting if it stops, the architecture exists, the numbers are published, the mechanism is documented, none of this is hidden. It has only been distributed in pieces across different programs in language designed to keep each piece separate from the others so that the cage can only be seen from inside. This document assembles the cage. It exists so that the cage can be seen from the outside by the people who do not know yet they are walking toward it.
Hmm. Right. Well, I mean, I can hear some people saying that, well, hey, no system's perfect. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't think what Chantal, because really, you know what I mean. You just presented an opus, really a 5-course meal to, and you just skimmed the other considerations. We're not looking for a perfect system.
No.
Nobody's looking for a perfect system. Everybody knows that that is not philosophically sound of a desire to have. But what we want is a system that just simply works. One that
Yep.
respects the human being, the decency of the human being under AISH conditions that would desire to work and has the ability to do that inside a system that already takes care of their basic needs, which I think is intrinsic and should be granted to every human being anyway, regardless of whether you're in pain or you're not. You should be able to live on this planet. You are fortunate enough, although these days maybe that's not, fortunate is the wrong word, but you were fortunate enough to be born on this planet. Therefore, you deserve the respect of of the needs of nature itself to sustain you. And if that's inside a system that has now become cities and monolithic and everything else, well, then it's up to that civic organization, those people, that government, to figure out a way to treat you as nature would. All right. And this is all we're saying. Nobody wants a Lamborghini here. Nobody's talking about, flights to Dubai every Sunday. We're talking about basic essentials being met, which nature has already granted to every human being.
Yeah,
And
we're
which,
just looking for accessibility and inclusion.
right. And that is something that we would have had when we were a tribe of 150 with a few minor problems here and there. And now it's been stripped from us by an entire system, by the way we do things. And so we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for enough. What is enough? I've often said, I'm
I already
single.
wrote that too.
Well, and I'm sure you have. Of course you have. I'm single right now, but I've often said I'm not looking for everything. I just want enough.
Yeah.
What is enough, right? I don't need the world. I don't need her to be 21 and blonde hair down to her ass, and you know what I mean? I'm not looking for that. I want enough. What is enough, right? Somebody you can converse with, somebody you can have, great conversation with, right? Someone that's attractive to whatever extent that flutes your boot.
Is for the individual. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's all it is. And so by nature itself, we are granted right to these things, and it is only by a system that we have been stripped of the, what would you call
Bare
it?
necessities.
Right, the bare necessities that nature already provides, and the respect that nature provides, right? If you want to argue that nature is brutal, well, of course it is. That's why packs of animals all gather together so that they can take care of each other, right? Because a lion on its own in nature will be killed. Any animal left alone in nature will be killed. And that is true of the human species. So I'll leave it there. I know that's slightly philosophical, but I think we need to add that.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another report that's going to be hitting the live here pretty soon is one that's entitled Building Up. I'm not going to break it down because it's 354 pages long, Gavin.
Okay.
So it's a blueprint for the Alberta Accessibility and Inclusion Act.
And so just
you and I had a discussion off live about what kind of change would be meaningful for the disability community, right?
Right.
And I had mentioned that it's not about what political party comes into place, right? It's about having something set up so that people that are either disabled or hurt at work or like with the Heritage Fund, we have access to the supports that we need, and it doesn't matter what government party comes into place, they can't touch it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So my whole document here is aimed to the academic, to the people that can make these a reality. And it basically breaks down. So part one, what real accessibility and inclusion actually looks like.
Right. So you're moving the ball. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
It might be a medicine ball and I might be having a hell of a time.
That's
but I'm
okay.
moving it.
It's okay.
Part two is the comparator. So what other jurisdictions built and what Alberta chose not to.
That ties into the Heritage Fund right there, but yeah.
Part three is the Alberta Accessibility and Inclusion Act, a constructive blueprint. So for all of those people that are sitting up there making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year sitting around scratching their asses, here you go. Get it done.
All right. 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 Yeah, I looked into the tax base today of Norway. Actually, I'm pretty stuck on Norway these days because they're doing it right. You know, and I looked at the tax base. They do pay higher taxes, and the rich pay higher taxes than that. But generally, overall, that country accepts that that's the case, and they see the direct benefit every day of their lives. So the benefit of paying a little bit more is visible and observable every time they walk outside, or anytime they heat their home, or anytime their kid needs food.
Yep.
right? So they accept that because they know that their conditions are met, and they're not just met, they're exceeded, you know? Um, and so in a sense, you're just you're really showing, not in any romantic sense, but in a real pragmatic sense, what a program is that is efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. All right. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just looking through my my contents here because I always have my indexes. I always have all of my sources, and there are over 200 cited sources in this, and 3 separate indexes. um,
Yeah.
and there's 34 sections. So it's like definition of what accessibility and inclusion means, the life cycle frame, so meeting people at their level, childhood, FSCD, and developmental window, because I can't leave them out. The engineered repudiation, funding starvation, segregated classrooms, and the earn inclusion cover story. That was Danielle Smith, her comment there that you should earn inclusion. Unbelievable, this person.
You should
Transition.
wait. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Earn inclusion. She made a comment, um, I think it was in April, that children, disabled children, and people that are on the spectrum need to earn inclusion or lose it
Inclusion where?
in school.
In school?
Yep,
In a regular school?
in a regular school. That's they call inclusive classrooms where there is a mix of people that are on the spectrum or disabled and regular neurotypical people.
Can we break that down for a second? I want to make sense of that because I don't want to dismiss it. Uh, you might have already done the work. I haven't. Let me just think about that for. Okay, so you're including disabled children. And let's use, because we're using our cognitive skills in school. Let's make that a cognitive distinction right now.
Yeah.
You have kids with cognitive disabilities in a room full of kids that don't suffer the same difficulty.
Yeah.
And you want the one that does suffer the difficulty to earn inclusion
The privilege of being in that classroom.
The privilege of being in that classroom based on what? Beating out other neurodivergents or the healthy people, quote unquote?
I think what it is because they've cut funding to schools and there aren't enough EAs, so educational assistants, to help with those that need the broader help or the more hands-on attention because of behavioral issues or the fact that things need to be translated, or, and I'm just listing things for my own children at this point. They need certain things retaught at a speed that they can actually adjust or learn by, right? That apparently, because she wants to cut or has cut the funding for these EAs, if a child has behavioral issues or has any of these, they're pushing towards secluded or segregated classrooms.
So the neurodivergent, let's say, in one room, them in one, and the other people. So what do you think is the better system?
It's been studied and proven that inclusive classrooms are the better option.
Then, if that's the case, what does Danielle Smith mean by earned, whatever you said, earned
inclusion?
Earned inclusion. What does that mean then in a hybrid class?
She doesn't. Okay, if you were to really boil it down, and I know this is like racist, you look at it the way that the whites used to segregate the African Americans.
Okay.
Right? How it was whites are only over here and the Africans are only over there, and they had separate bathrooms, they had separate classrooms, they had separate schools, separate busing, separate everything. Okay, that's what she wants to do to the children of the disabled community.
So she wants to segregate.
Yes,
Okay, then where does her inclusion come in classrooms that are hybrid?
it doesn't exist.
Oh, but she made the statement.
Yeah. That you have to earn your right to be an inclusive education. But in actuality, that definition over the last 7 years that my kids have been in school does not actually exist.
Well, this is a tough nut, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
because let me break down the what I think are the facets of this. You have a kid that is whatever. I'm using the word
Yeah.
neurodivergent, and then you in a healthy classroom. Now you can segregate that individual, but in a sense, what you're doing is well, you could use a slippery slope argument. You know what I mean? You could use a eugenics argument. You know, you could go that direction if you wanted to, or you could just say that no, it's the best system because they're learning along with people of their same speed, their same intellect, understanding. I can see that as an argument depending on how it's meted out. If you integrate them into the class, well, what that does is it gives, you would hope what that gives is a better understanding to those who aren't neurodivergent to be more inclusive and to be, to understand the needs and wants of other people. But you would also have to know that that classroom might suffer from the yin and yang of that, the pull, the stretch of those who don't, right? So you've got that going on. So I don't know, right? Like, what is the better model? I think I'm missing something, but I don't know what that is.
What ends up happening with children that are neurodivergent is it's something called regression. Okay. So you a lot of parents, they go through FSCD, and of course that takes years to get onto, and they get specialists. So you get speech pathologists that work with your child. You get behavioral specialists. You get all of these specialized services that the government will pay for your child. When you have them in an inclusive classroom, you have your child around other speaking children, children that know how to socialize, children that don't have the same behavioral issues as what your child would experience. And they are then a little bit more able to mirror what they're seeing on a daily basis.
I guess you.
So if Susie is a neurotypical child and she doesn't slam her hands on her desk, or she doesn't rock or flap or stimulate, right, to get through the day.
Gotcha, yeah.
The neurodivergent child is seeing this in the periphery going, okay, is that how I'm supposed to respond?
Right. In a segregated room.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
In a segregated room where you have a room full of neurodivergent and disabled people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that baseline available.
Mm-hmm.
The baseline then is from the teacher and from the educational assistants that are in the room. So all adults, they're not seeing positive peer interactions within the neurotypical environment.
Okay.
Which is completely counterproductive to everything that we're trying to work towards.
Well, it's counterproductive to the species, yeah.
Exactly. But the only reason that I'm thinking that this is why this is happening is we're already taught to be self-sufficient, to survive on our own. How AISH is all about being like segregated and alone in your struggle. Like like interactions with other people becomes dangerous because, oh my goodness, somebody could report me to AISH for this, that, or the other thing, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't want to do that. So when you take a child from inclusion and then make segregation the new norm, they're learning that a lot earlier on. But they are on their own, that nobody understands them and nobody wants to, and they don't fit in anywhere.
Okay. Okay. In a segregated system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the part that I was missing, now, there are probably many moving parts to this, but the one part that I can think of that I was missing is this. If you put, in the way that we have structured society at the moment, the separation of individual, the individualism of our society, the non-interconnected nature of the species, right? The grid system in which we all live in our communities on, right? The grid. The fact that we're not connected, the fact that we have all these existential concerns going on, everything else. In order for a hybrid system to work, think about it. If you're a tribe of 150 people, let's say, well, you're not going to have the segregated fucking class over there and another segregated class over there. And you know what I mean? You're all going to be together learning as one cohesive unit moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's inclusive, right? That's inclusion, right?
Yeah.
And
everybody works together. Inclusion.
Right. And the one who doesn't work as fast as the other one works at their own pace, and people just understand that is the dynamic, right? That's the dynamic of our social interaction. We move a little bit slower for this person, right? The problem becomes not in the concept, because I think the concept of inclusion, now that we call it that, but it was just called community or tribal before.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about inclusion is that this is historical. This is the way we've always done it. The problem in today's society is that there is no patience for that. We are moving into a technological advanced age. We don't know our neighbor, nor do we care to. We have lack of empathy and lack of understanding. We have lack of connection to one another. So in order for this kind of system to work, you would need communities based on inclusivity as well. You couldn't just have a school inclusive and then go home and tell bad jokes about Johnny, the high foreheaded individual in class, and then go back the next day to beat Johnny up. You know what I mean? And this is the problem I see in inclusion, insofar as the fact that we're not structured inclusively.
Yeah.
Right? Do you understand what? Yeah, I think you get it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Would you agree with that analysis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because in parallel to all of the advocacy that I'm doing for the AISH community and the AISH-to-ADAP switch and all of the forums and everything that I'm doing on this front, there's also a lot of school advocacy going on for my children.
Right.
Who are all neurodivergent.
Right. And I think could benefit from a hybrid model.
Well, they have been in inclusive classrooms since they started school. But they are on fundamentally different levels. And like my eldest is 11, and when he started grade 1 and grade 2, that was during the whole COVID thing, where everything went to online learning. So I had 3 kids at home, no technology that I would have been able to sign into 3 different classrooms for them to be able to do that with. And I wasn't borrowing Chromebooks that I would be financially responsible for with the kids that I have at home.
Right.
So when we came back from after the closures, I went to our principal at the time and I said, look, he had no instruction during the entirety of COVID. The foundational skills that he needs for reading, the letter sounds, everything that he needs for being able to do any kind of language work wasn't met. And I said I'd like him to redo the grade that we lost, and I was met with absolutely not, we're not doing that. It wasn't even a takeaway like, oh, okay, let me go and get a hold of district office and find out what we can do. So for the entirety now since grade 1, grade 2, he has had something called foundational skill cascade. So he has no foundation built when it comes to language.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Mm-hmm.
So he can speak, he can understand to a degree, but his writing, absolutely not. He has to copy off of something because he can't put what he's thinking into words.
Right.
His literacy is very, very low. Like, I'm talking kindergarten level. We've had two psychoeducational assessments done. The newest one was done last year, and all of them point to the same thing. Because he's never had adequate support
Mm-hmm.
while in school,
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't been able to grow.
Right.
So he's sitting this year in a grade 6 classroom, Gavin, not being able to read or follow along, with no adult support.
Okay, so I'm curious. I mean, you just spelled it all out, and this might be a redundant question, but how is he doing? Like, how is he operating? How is he feeling? Do you see any regression, or do you see digression?
He is very withdrawn.
Okay.
Very withdrawn. He likes to meld into the background in the class. He's not forthcoming with very much information when he gets home. He's been lost to the whole system because nobody wants to be accountable for the decisions of an educator.
Okay. So, is anyone trying to pull him forward? You say he gets lost in the back now. Is anyone trying to pull him forward?
His teacher, to an extent.
Okay.
And I'm talking the main teacher in the classroom, and that's been our norm and our regular happenings for the last number of years. He has one teacher that, after he's done explaining and educating the class or going through what they're going to work on, then has to take time out to go and sit with my son to make sure that he understood what was said, what the project entails, and then has to sit and transcribe things for him. And that's just a regular teacher, not an educational assistant.
Sure. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is that's a lot of stress on one teacher.
Yeah.
So what's the answer to that problem? Is inclusion working then, or is inclusion not working? Or is it the fact that if we're going to be inclusive, we need to bring in people to aid and abet the furtherance of people like your son, you know, on a more singular basis?
Well, with what, like, because all of my kids are at different levels, right? So my daughter, my youngest, she didn't miss those foundational, like that foundation.
Right.
And she's had the same EA, this is year 3,
Right.
that she's had her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's reading at a, grade 2, 3 level, according to her psychoeducational assessment.
Okay.
And her peer-to-peer interactions are amazing, because the first year or two that her EA was with her, they worked on peer-to-peer interactions. So how to approach people, how to make friends, that kind of thing. My son never got that.
Is that because of COVID?
It's not just because of COVID, but because he's never had one-to-one EA assignment, somebody to follow him around and make sure that he can interact with his peers.
Because they dropped the program?
No, because they just don't want to fund it.
Okay, so there's no funding for it.
Well, that's what they keep on saying, is that there's no funding, but there is.
Well, we know.
They just keep cutting it. Yeah.
We know there's money for everything. We know that there's ostensibly $8,750 for every tax-paying Albertan every year missing since the 1970s. So, and those are loose terms, but it is a real metric. So we know there's money, but they don't want to spend it. Therefore, the program is not dropped, but not maintained.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so once again, if we want to bring this back, maybe we should bring it back to what this means for AISH specifically, because the money is there for AISH. There is no reason that, just like your child can't get an EA, we can't stay at 1940 add a little program to that for people that want to work. That's really, as far as I can tell, all this is about. People that want to work a little bit more. It's not about saving money because we're spending $46 million more a year. Can't be that, right? I mean, once again, the whole thing comes back to the government. It comes back to the irresponsibility of consecutive governments that are only leading in one direction, and that is to austerity and dystopia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
I can't see it any other way.
Yeah. See, and I guess what really kind of confuses the heck out of me, okay, is the school district, everybody that I have going right now, in terms of what's going on with my own kids, right? And I know that I'm not the only one that's running into this issue. The years of waiting for FSCD and then the transition from that to PDD, why are we not focused on when this all starts? Right? Like we have the diagnoses, we have the genetic testing, for crying out loud, right? That confirms all of the diagnosis that I have for my kids. But yet they're going, oh, well, no, there's nothing that we can do. Well, does that mean then that you guys are going to sign a letter saying, no, we've washed our hands of them as of this year, you know, one being in grade 6, another being in grade 4, and another being in grade 3, that no, we're not going to bother educating them? Because when they get to PDD and then to AISH and possibly ADAP, how do you expect somebody illiterate with intellectual disabilities, with nonverbal autism, severe ADHD and ODD, how do you expect those people to function within society if you're not going to help them now?
Well, you know, this is the age-old question that we probably know best from a little thing we call the Nazi regime.
Yeah.
Right? So these people are expendable. You see, this is the way the government sees it, I'm saying. This is the way your institution sees you. You are expendable. There used to be a point where, you know, we had slavery, right? Where they were useful for something and then useless in general society. But we are all becoming expendable. This is the way technology is going. It can't start with the middle class or with people that have half an intelligence, because they're going to need those people. Who they really don't need is us.
Yeah.
You see? So we can ask the question till we're blue in the face, I guess, you know, why? But I think at some point you have to answer why. And it's not going to be the answer you want. It's going to be a really hard pill to swallow. And that is that we, to begin with, are expendable, and we will remain so, and I think that that's what all of this has to do with. I think that if you take a look at Donald Trump's cabinet, or whoever he had on stage with him when he became president, it was all technocrats. It was all Silicon Valley, San Francisco, you know, elite, right? And this, I think, is a hint into our future. There are two ways the future can go. It could go in the direction of our benefit, or it can work for the benefit of the few and the rich. Yeah. Right now, it seems to be heading in the latter direction. But I think what you and I are trying to do, Chantal, and 80,000 people in Alberta, I guess, is having it the democratic way, the people's way. Mm-hmm. And this is the hard reality to accept. We, in the eyes of a system, we are expendable. And I think what they were trying to do is expend us. And they don't want to carry, let's say, children like yours into a future in which there is no practical use for. And I do not
Yeah.
mean that, I mean that in a systemic way. I don't mean that in any human sense of that.
Yeah. No, I understand.
You understand? Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know. That's why I love you.
I've plucked this chicken. I've been plucking this chicken for years, Gavin. Like none of it makes sense to the rational mind, right? But I can understand where they're coming from to an extent
Well, and
because I don't follow those same values, right? I have a completely different moral compass.
well, exactly. And you have to suspend your rational thinking in order to think like these people.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing for anybody watching out there. If something doesn't make sense to you, it's because you cannot use your rational mind to explain what it is you're trying to explain to yourself, because the concept itself has come from an irrational mind. It is the irrational mind that would say people are expendable.
Yeah.
That's not rational. So if you want to understand it, you have to come at it from their perspective. Now, God forbid you stay in their perspective, because that will make you irrational and nefarious. But if you want to understand your enemy, you have to look at things the way they do. And as far as I can tell, what I see is the fact that we're expendable. Even from a liberal class that walked by us today when we were and looked at us like, oh, it's so sad those people are doing that. Even in their heart, they're wondering, do we really need to exist? Do we need signs anymore? You know, are we better than all this? We just need to get rid of those people.
Yeah.
And
Anything that makes the passerby uncomfortable is the right thing to do.
Is the absolute right thing to do. When you see somebody's face look glib at you, when you see it turn into that glibness, you know you've done something right.
Yeah.
And the only thing you have to do is, even if you can in a moment, which I like to do, if somebody kind of looks at me and then walks away from me, I immediately say, nice talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that will stop them. And I'll even keep it going. I'll like, man, you know, that was a great discussion. I really appreciate you stopping to take the time to speak to me. Enjoy your lunch. That's what I do.
That does one of two things. It makes the person either feel embarrassed that they didn't actually stop to interact with you, or it makes other people on the street go, oh, hey, they're approachable.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think we gave off that vibe today. You know, like so many people came up to us. There was only 4 of us, for God's sake. And people are coming up going, what is this? That whole thing of German tourists. They were like, oh my God, what? And we are approachable. That's just it. You know, I may be the least approachable out of all of them, but I love engagement, right? And so, you know, Pam will have me come over, and Pam will walk right up to people and just start talking to them anyway. And she's such a beautiful spirit. So yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. We're expendable, and we need to own that, in so much as that's what other people think, not in so much as we believe it, but that's what other people think. And then if you're what would you call it? Self-esteem can rise to the point of realizing, oh no, wait a minute, I mean as much to this world as any other human being on it, from Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk down to the lowly guy sitting in a wheelchair. All of us by nature are granted a plot of land, our access to money or food and clothing and shelter. That is what nature has given us, right? And there's not one person on the world that can subvert nature in order to take over nature itself. That can't happen. So by natural right, we possess all these things. If you can get a hold of that, you can really take on anyone who thinks less of you.
Yeah.
And this is what we're all about in the protest, is about showing people that no, you think you have intellect, you think you know the answer to everything, but you haven't spoken to us yet. And when you do, like Chantal has done the work on, when you marry knowledge, understanding, and wisdom together, so knowledge, simply knowing a thing, understanding how that thing works. Wisdom, how to practically engage in whatever that thing is that you understand,
Yeah.
right? If you can do those three things, you will crush the majority of people coming at you with glib looks, because really, the glib look is all they have. They don't have evidence. They don't have the weapons of knowledge and intellect. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
if we get ourselves to that level, and what a duality, what a paradox that the people in society that are considered the least of these actually change the way things work.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, and I would believe it's not just possible, it's almost likely. And the reason I think it's likely is because we are closer to the spirit of humanity than anyone who has sold that humanity for self-interest and their own mess of pottage. We know what it means to be human. We really do. We suffer, of course. We like to judge sometimes, but not on a scale like that. Never.
No.
Never.
Well, that's like people have. It's been shown. There's evidence for it that the person that has the least is the most inclined to help.
Right.
Right. That's where the whole paying it forward thing came from. If you have something that someone else can use, you pay it forward, and then that person there, you let go of it, and it goes into the universe. Right.
Yes. And, it's an interesting thing, though. I've met people, that do suffer, and it's obvious, and they're on
Yeah.
AISH or they're whatever. And sometimes they can be the most judgmental. But I wonder if that's not because they have yet to take the journey from their expectation to the reality.
Yeah.
So they're still caught in that I want to be the guy in the suit, and the acceptance of I'm better off not being that guy. I'm better off expressing myself in my own unique way, understanding what I mean to the world and what I don't,
Yeah.
right? And not being homogenous. Outside City Hall today, it was like everybody looked the same. They were all in a suit or all in a pantsuit. And I'm like, you people, there's no difference between them.
Individuality.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
and the rest of us, I mean, Pam was wearing a hat, the other girl was dressed in this Eastern European head garb. I had on a nice white, yellow leather coat. The other guys wearing and we looked unique.
Yep.
We looked like we were living life. And so once again, you can't go to that level of banality and really think that you have much to offer the world. You don't. You're a suit, you crunch numbers, and you do power lunches. I thank God every day that I'm not that. And I thank God that I'm a musician, that I've done what I've done, that I've given something to humanity, in a moment where people just need to feel good,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. That's what a Forrest Gump. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe it, man. I believe it. It sounds counterintuitive, but I believe it to be true. I believe that because we hold the greatest humanity, we may actually be the ones to make the change.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you and I mean 80,000 to another couple billion. So.
Well, that blueprint that I drew up, that's going to everybody with an email address that can make the change.
Right.
Because I don't just sit on stuff; it gets distributed, and then it gets circulated. So, I try really hard to make everything accessible. I try really hard to make sure that everybody's in the know of what I'm doing campaign wise, and knowledge is the first base.
Right. Knowledge, understanding, wisdom. It's basically wisdom is a practical application of understanding and knowledge.
Yeah.
It's how you apply it, right? That's wisdom. And we're doing the work the best we can, Chantal.
Yeah.
And it's not about us, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we sit here and we maybe talk Socratically, we talk philosophically, we talk numbers, you know what I mean? We have the goddess of the spreadsheet right here that just knows everything about everything and is so, otherworldly valuable that it's hard to put into the English language. But there's nothing brilliant about us. There is nothing uh, amazing inside of us that doesn't already reside in you. And when I was teaching drums to people that ended up touring the world, actually, I told them the same thing. You may look at me today and think that you'll never do what I'm doing. But if you have the desire to do it, and that's all it boils down to, the gift is not the ability. The gift is to be able to sit there for as long as it takes, loving what you do. That makes you a master, right? I didn't pop out of my mom with drumsticks. I had to learn
That would
that.
have been painful. Oh my
Now,
God.
ow, ow, ow! That'd be way too much. Although I've been a pain in her ass, she says, my whole life. So, um, but you know, everything that Brad Pitt has, or Elton John has, or any one of these people already resides in you. That is the truth. Whether or not you choose to utilize that is your choice.
Hmm.
But there is no difference between a Brad Pitt and anything that you can offer the world. And in some ways, what you may offer the world is more valuable than anything Brad Pitt has ever contemplated.
Mm.
This is a truth.
Your value as a human being does not boil down to your monetary income.
And your talent doesn't either. Your ability to produce does not boil down to the fact that that guy did and you didn't. It boils down to the fact that we all possess it. And I tried to, I did, pretty well. I got my students to understand that whatever they saw in me that they thought was miraculous was soon going to translate into them. Not because I'm miraculous, but because they wanted it. Yeah. And so, that's where we're at. When you come to a protest, you're not there to be Socrates. You're there to share whatever ability it is you have. There are people that I talked today that Pam was better off talking to. She could relate to them better. She could talk to them better. They understood her better. We all, man, this is what I'm talking about, right? We're all valuable in this society. To ever think of ourselves as expendable is the greatest slap in the face to whatever you want to call it, nature, Mother Earth, God, whatever right? It's a slap in the face to that because you literally possess greatness. So nobody in a suit, I can tell you this, nobody in a suit that I saw today ever thought that they would, like when they were 6 years old, they didn't dream of growing up to sit
in a suit.
Right, right, and sit in a cubicle for 8 hours. No kid dreams of that.
No.
The kid dreams of the ballerina, of the marine biologist, of the
tow truck,
the tow truck and driving, and the fireman, the policeman, the musician. We don't dream of sitting in a cubicle. That and so that has to be instructive as to what our human nature boils down to. And that is, it's not about what you have to do, it's about what your contribution to the world is. And it's unique. Yeah. We're all the same, practically. But what makes us unique is the drive, the particular drive that's in us. And that can be accomplished, that can be realized. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this work. Because I believe that in 80,000 and in 8 billion actually possesses greatness, mastery of all kinds. Right.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And for every person that shows up at the protest, they are, like, you had 4 people today, so each person basically, if you were to boil it down, Each individual that was there with you today represents 20,000 on AISH.
Right, right, right. I mean, I love the way you just put that. No, I love that. Because in a sense, yeah, I mean, one person is holding up 20,000. And between the four of us, we got 80,000 people on our shoulders. And what we want is perhaps to lessen that load. We'll carry it because we've committed to it. Yeah. We have said yes. You know, should you choose to accept this mission, it will self-destruct in 5 seconds. We have accepted this mission. We're not backing down. Neither is Chantal.
No.
What we could use is less load. And then you could use it too. You jump on board, right? We got 8 people. What is that? My math's terrible. Oh, 10,000. So now you've got 10,000 and you want to lessen your load. All of a sudden, you're carrying your neighbor and they're carrying you. The load is equal.
And people don't just have to show up at the protest in Calgary. You know, a little cork board or a poster board from the dollar store is like $2. You know, draw it up with some scented markers that, you know, your kids have from the year before. You know, use your Sharpies, really press hard with your pencil, and just go out onto a corner and be seen. You know, you are 80,000 behind you, and we're all standing together. Even if we're not physically together, we are all there.
You know, it's in moments like this that we really realize our humanity. There was a moment in the pandemic where I really felt that was potential, and now we've revisited again only 5 years later.
Yeah.
And this is another moment for us to say that we're going to realize what humanity really means. What this world.
If we look at it from the COVID lens, right? The government told us that we couldn't form a community. We had to be segregated. We had to be stuck in our houses because of the fear of this virus, right?
Yep.
That nobody could see. What's the difference right now? The government has still been telling us as disabled Albertans that we don't matter, that we need to continue to be isolated from our community members, and that being seen in public together is dangerous to our survival. What's the difference, Gavin? The government's telling us not to do something. That should be the motivation to make us want to do it.
Right. When the government tells you not to do something, that's the moment you should do something. It was like, I won't go into my childhood, but it was pretty rough. It was pretty bad, and that's part of the reason I suffer the way I do today. But I finally realized that if I was pissing off my dad, I was doing something right.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because my dad was not right. So if I did the opposite of what it was he expected, I was actually doing the right thing. Now, I don't mean pissing people off is good. I just mean that the way in which he wanted me to be structured was nothing I could accept. It was everything I rejected. And that made him upset. It made him upset that I would love people. It made him upset that I wanted to play music. But I knew, and especially when I had kids, I realized, oh no, that's not the way you treat your kids. You treat them this way, not that way. Mm-hmm. And so I just realized if my dad was upset at me for something, I was doing something right. And you'll realize that too in your journey, that people that do not mean well will be upset every time you do something that's in your best interest.
Yeah.
That's what we call narcissism. It's what we call gaslighting, all these new terminologies. But it really boils down to that. So start pissing people off. I guess that's the whole...
Well, the government really refuses to be transparent, and they don't like when people are in the know of what's going on. So I think even with including the Indigenous, including people on CPP, including the senior citizens that are, you know, above the age of 65, this isn't just a fight for the disabled community. It's a fight for all of us.
It really is. We've outlined that.
Yeah.
Haven't
And
we?
it keeps on expanding because I keep plucking that chicken.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's an analogy I'll never let go, is seeing now forevermore in my mind, thank you very much, Chantal, a naked chicken. That is burned into my head now. That Chantal plucks the feathers off of so many chickens. All you have is naked chickens running around, crossing their nether regions, going, That's an image that I'll never, and I love the image. Because that's what you have to get down to. You got to get down to what is the skin in the game. The feathers look nice, don't they? But you got to strip the feathers away, because then you'll get down to what the chicken really looks like. It's like the emperor has no clothes on. You see? So, have we covered everything?
Good. We've covered everything, yeah.
Because we kind of slid the Heritage Fund all over the place, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
But that's because it's a really big focal point that people either don't understand, don't know, or are ignorant of, right? They just hear Heritage Fund and it's, oh, okay, well, it's some kind of a fund that the government, controls. Well, in essence, sure, but they're not using it the way that it was meant to be used.
No. They're not even giving to it, really. At least they didn't through the mid-'80s, and they didn't into the '90s. And now I think Danielle Smith wants to pat herself on the back. And, once again, it doesn't stand to reason that if you make $393 million in a quarter, that you would say you have no money. You've now made more money than you have since the mid-'80s, and you're saying you have no money.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're cutting programs when you finally made more money than you have since the mid-'80s. And now you're saying you can't afford it, but you can afford it when you were making money? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you have to suspend logic to deal with people that have none.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. What are we... 2 hours and 20 minutes today.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, we get to talking and that's it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is not even the tip of the iceberg that sank the Titanic. There's a lot left. And the whole thing, if you want to use the iceberg analogy, there's not much to an iceberg on top. You have to go beneath the iceberg. You see what I mean? The iceberg looks amazing from the top, but 9/10 of the iceberg is under the water. And that's what we're doing here. What are we doing? We're charging the depths of this type of information, this iceberg on top that they're giving you. This is what it is. This is what it looks like. Don't look any further. No, Chantal basically has had a scuba suit on for the last 4 or 5 months, at least. And
everything is available publicly.
Right.
Everything.
So where can people find your stuff?
They can find it on the Facebook group, which is the Alberta Disability System Breakdown. You do not have to join to have access to everything that I've compiled. All of the fillable PDFs are there. All of the reports are there in the file section. Everything's there. And if Facebook isn't an option for you, there is also an app that works in the web browsers. Alberta Disability System Breakdown.netlify.app.
Okay, say that one more time. Just the last.
Available there too.
Say that. Yeah.
So it's Alberta Disability System Breakdown at netlify. So netlify.app.
LIFY.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, I will, say please like, share, subscribe to this YouTube channel. This is where we're up 4 times a week, more than even the podcasters I watch. We are on 4 times a week, not for your pleasure, enjoyment, or entertainment, but for knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. That's what we need right now. Maybe later we'll get the Rockettes on for a resounding number of some 50s tune. But until then, we are locked in to breaking a system that is attempting to break us. And so I love you all. Chantal, amazing the work today. Please tune in. We'll be back Thursday. I want to say at 3 o'clock. And we'll put that out to all the Facebook AISH pages and everything else so that you can tune in. Once again, this is a call-in show, but I have to release the links for y'all. So I'm going to do that. I haven't done that yet, but we want to hear from you. People are watching the show. Can you give any stat on that right now, Chantal? In terms of
for people watching right now,
or just views?
Let's see here. It should be on here. 3 are watching currently.
Okay, and how many views have we had total? Is that an easy?
Probably about 300 or 400 so far across all of our streams.
Okay, so we're getting up to 500 views in a week.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. You know, so rebroadcast this, share it if you think that somebody could use this type of information. And other than that, we'll see you on Thursday. Peace and be well. Bye, y'all.
Good night.
All right.